Choosing Peace. Chapter 3. What your life looks like when peace leads. Peace is not a destination you arrive at. It is a way of moving through your days that you choose, one small decision at a time. I want to tell you about a moment that changed the way I understood everything. It was an ordinary afternoon. I had walked in from work, changed out of the clothes that carried the weight of the day, and stepped outside into the sunshine. Just stood there, felt the warmth on my face, did absolutely nothing productive. And I breathed. Not the shallow, distracted breathing of someone mentally still at their desk. Real breathing. The kind that reminds you that you have a body, and that body is here, and this moment is yours. A few years earlier, that moment would not have existed. I would have walked in and gone straight to the computer. There was always something else to do, another task, another obligation waiting. The idea of simply standing in the sunshine with nothing to accomplish would have felt wasteful. Irresponsible even. Now it feels like the most important part of my day. That is what life looks like when peace leads. Not perfect. Not without challenge. But anchored. Breathing. Present in a way you forgot was possible. This is not a fantasy. Before we go further, I want to be honest with you about something, because this book is built on honesty. The life I am describing in this chapter is not a life without difficulty. It is not a life where nothing goes wrong, where people stop being draining, or where old patterns never try to creep back in. They do creep back. The guilt still shows up sometimes when I am resting and nothing is getting done. The old voice that ties worth to productivity has not completely gone quiet. There are still days when the weight of everything tries to settle back onto my shoulders. The difference is I no longer let it set up a permanent home there. When peace leads, you do not become immune to hard things. You become someone who knows how to return to yourself after them. That return gets faster, steadier, and more natural the longer you practice it. Progress, not perfection. That is what we are building here. The morning feels different. One of the first things people notice when they start choosing peace is that mornings change. When you are running on empty and carrying everyone else's weight, mornings can feel like a countdown. The alarm goes off, and before your eyes are fully open, your mind is already listing everything waiting for you. The dread arrives before the day even begins. When peace leads, mornings become something else entirely. They become the part of the day that belongs to you before anyone else can claim it. Even 10 quiet minutes before the noise begins feels like a gift you give yourself every single day. You do not have to do anything extraordinary in those minutes. You do not need a complicated morning routine or a long list of wellness practices. You just need a few moments that are yours. Quiet. Still. Unhurried. That stillness sets the tone for everything that follows. Your body starts to tell the truth. Something interesting happens when you begin choosing peace consistently. Your body starts to relax in ways you did not even realize it had been holding tension. Shoulders that were permanently raised begin to drop. Breathing that was shallow begins to deepen. The tight feeling in your chest that you had normalized as just how life feels begins to loosen. People around you notice before you do sometimes. They say things like, "You seem different lately," or "You look so much more relaxed." And you realize they are right. Something is visibly shifting. This is not coincidence. Chronic stress lives in the body. And when you stop feeding it with constant overextension, the body begins to release what it has been storing. Peace is not just a mental experience. It is a physical one. Your body has been waiting for permission to rest just as long as your mind has. Your relationships quietly improve. Here is something that surprises most people when they start this journey. When you stop giving from an empty place, the quality of what you give improves. The people who truly value your presence begin to feel it more, not less. Because now when you show up, you are actually there. Not halfway present while mentally running through your to-do list. Not exhausted and going through the motions. Genuinely, fully there. Some relationships do shift when you start choosing yourself. People who were used to accessing you without limit may pull back or push back. That is uncomfortable, and we will talk more about navigating that in later chapters. But the relationships that are real, the ones built on mutual care and genuine connection, those tend to deepen. Because a calmer, more grounded version of you is easier to be close to. Easier to talk to. Easier to love. Peace in you creates space for peace between you and others. The small moments become enough. One of the quietest and most beautiful shifts that happens when peace leads is this. Small things start to feel like enough. Sunshine on your face after a long day. A cup of something warm in a quiet house. A walk with no destination. A song that finds you at exactly the right moment. Laughter that comes from somewhere real. When you are chronically depleted, these moments barely register. You are too busy, too tired, too mentally somewhere else to actually receive them. When peace leads, you slow down enough to let them land. And you discover that a life full of small moments that land is actually a very rich life. You are not missing the good things. You are just moving too fast to feel them. What to do when the old ways come back? I want to speak directly to something because it is real and it will happen to you. There will be days when the old patterns return. When the guilt creeps in during a quiet moment and tells you that you should be doing something. When the pull to overextend yourself feels stronger than your commitment to peace. When you slip back into old habits for a day or a week and wonder if any of this is actually sticking. It is sticking. Setbacks are not failures. They are part of the process. The goal is not to never feel that guilt again. The goal is to get better at noticing it, naming it, and choosing differently anyway. Some days that will feel easy. Some days it will feel like a real effort. Both are valid. Both are still choosing peace. When the old ways come knocking, try this. Pause, take one slow breath, and ask yourself one question. What does my peace need right now? Not what does my guilt need? Not what does everyone else need? What does your peace need? Then do that one small thing. That is enough. A picture of your peaceful life. Before we close this chapter, I want you to take a moment and imagine something. Picture yourself 6 months from now. You have been practicing the ideas in this book. You are not perfect at it, but you are consistent. You have built small habits that protect your energy. You know what drains you and you have started setting quiet limits around it. You have learned to return to yourself after hard days instead of just pushing through until you collapse. What does that version of you look like at the end of an ordinary day? Maybe they change into comfortable clothes and stand in the sunshine for a few minutes. Maybe they sit in a quiet room without feeling like they should be doing something else. Maybe they sleep better, breathe easier, laugh more genuinely. Maybe they simply feel like themselves again. That life is not out of reach. It is being built, one chapter at a time, starting right now. A peaceful life is not a life without difficulty. It is a life where you know how to come back to yourself. And you are already learning how. Coming up in Chapter 4. Recognizing what drains you. Building your personal energy map.